Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species, as part of my ongoing series for the Garde Film Festival with actors, directors. And I am so thrilled because everybody who knows me knows I love everything about filmmaking, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I'm really honored to spend some time with Nolan Gould, who was Luke on Modern Family. And we're going to talk about his latest film that he co-wrote and starred in, The Liars of Black Mountain Road. And we'll talk about that. And I have an interesting comparison to make because I watched a lot of old movies about that. We'll talk about that. But I'm really thrilled. You're out in LA. I'm in Jersey. You made some time to do this. Truly thrilled. So, uh,
Yes. Hi.
Johnny Carson monologue is over. Why don't you say some background, and then we'll jump
Sure.
in.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. As Calvin said, my name is Nolan Gould. I spent 11 years on Modern Family playing Luke Dunphy. Some of you might know me from that. I've been acting now for 22 years, which is feels crazy because I'm 27. So most of my life has been spent acting, and in the past few years, I was feeling a little lost with acting and decided to start doing some behind the camera stuff and started working with a really talented filmmaker, Parker Croft, who I had met through actually just acting. And he had also gotten behind the camera and became a director and started his own production company. We worked together on a short film called As Easy as Closing Your Eyes, which me and Calvin have talked a little bit about. And that's out there on the internet. If you want to go check it out. It's a great piece of work. And then this is our first full collaboration for our short film, The Liars of Black Mountain Road, which will be hitting film festivals all across the world. Calvin's kind of
I'm
holding up the
prepared.
poster for it now.
I'm
Yeah,
prepared.
that's wow. Wow. Where did you get that? That's awesome.
I,
Um,
I'm
I like
resourceful.
I like the prep work. Yeah, it will be playing in the Garden State Film Festival, as well as CineQuest and many others. And we're very excited for everyone to see it.
Perfect. Perfect. I just got to make one editorial comment. To prepare, I watched As Easy as Closing Your Eyes a couple times this morning.
Hmm.
Completely, totally blew me away.
Yeah, yeah,
Dumbfounded. The quality, the depth, the story. This is, and by the way, we could talk for an hour about that. We're not. We're here to talk about The
yeah.
Liars.
Go check it out on your own time,
But check
everyone.
it out.
It's
It's
worth a
on
watch.
YouTube. It's a wow.
Yeah.
And what really blew me away is the first comment. I look at comments.
Hmm.
First comment was made by Ray Kurzweil from Singularity. And
Yeah.
I actually got a chance to hang out with Ray Kurzweil because I went to Singularity conference some years ago when I started journalism. So all this synchronicity. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, uh, let's jump into this. So, The Liars of
Sure.
Black Mountain Road feels emotionally suffocating, uh,
Yeah.
but in a very intentional way. Um,
Yes.
so, what first drew you to this story? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, of course. And by the way, I like the your description of it as emotionally suffocating. I'm glad that that plays because that's something that we were really looking into tonally. So me and Parker have worked together and we've written a couple of short films together. This is the first one that we've made in completion. What drew me to this story, we were looking for something that we could candidly, we were looking for something that we could make, something that was bony, that was low budget, but still impressive in its scope and its achievement. And we were sharing various stories from our lives that we thought could maybe make a great story to tell other people. And this is semi based on something that happened to Parker. So I'll just kind of get into the log line of this as well
sure,
for
sure.
anybody that's listening and hasn't read into it. It's basically about a young couple that is driving down the road and it runs over a stranger's dog, and the dog passes away, and they're left in this sort of moment after the cataclysm, after the meteor hits the life, and they're trying to figure out what are we going to do about this? Are we going to be the good people, or are we going to give into our our worst nature, into our demons, and run away from it. And specifically, they're at diametric oppositions, with her saying, "Let's do the right thing," and him saying, "Ooh, what if we stepped away from this?" Is based off something that kind of happened to Parker. Parker hit a dog. Luckily, the dog was okay, but we got to thinking, what if it wasn't? And more specifically, what if somebody was there to witness it and wanted to handle the situation differently than you? And whenever you have sort of, I love a moral dilemma in a story. Anytime two characters are disagreeing about how to handle a really difficult situation, especially one where there's maybe no right or wrong answer, which we work on building in this script. And I just love to watch characters struggle to figure out what is the correct thing to do. Uh, and so that was such a playground for us, and we had just an absolute blast writing this script. And then I think we wrote it in about 2 months, and then shot it in about 3 days, all on location in Los Angeles. It's a very, as I said earlier, bony piece. It's we shot it for basically nothing, but with really incredible cameras and lenses and talent. And I'm really going to be more proud of how it actually came out.
Okay. Yeah, as I'm listening, your storyline is hugely contemporary.
Yeah.
And why is it hugely contemporary? Because every day here in the metropolitan area, there's a hit and run,
Hmm.
and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
There's a hit and run literally every day, it's funny. I never hear of anything ever getting resolved. It's a hit
Yeah.
and run, nobody ever gets caught.
Sure.
Literally every day. But anyway, enough said
Yeah.
there.
Well, we wanted to find something that was accessible, right? Like
Yeah,
entry point for all people to say, "Oh, this isn't these aren't two characters on a spaceship dealing with problems that like we couldn't." This is a very sort of mundane
yeah,
and yet integral sort of um thing that can happen to any of us, and happens to people every day.
it does. That is quote the beauty of your story, The Liars,
Oh,
because
thank you.
this is every single day.
Yeah.
This is in front of ourselves, and it's
Yeah.
on TV every
You
day.
could you could have to make this decision, and
Yeah,
we like to showcase what maybe you shouldn't do, so that when the time comes, maybe you'll do the right thing. I've spent a lot of time talking to friends and various people in the development of this project, and it's been shocking the amount of people that were like, "Oh, if I was alone in the car, I would just keep driving," because it's not until somebody is next to you that you really, it's nose to the grindstone on whether or not you're gonna do the right thing.
hey, it's
So
not a gender thing, is it? I'm just kind of shooting from my hip. Uh,
yeah,
in this case, of course, the guy, if there's nobody in the
yeah,
car with him, he leaves, kind of thing.
sure. I think it's a really fair question. I'm curious about that myself. So far in the brief, I'm not a scientist here. I'm not running a hypothesis on this. I'm not testing it, but candidly, yes, it seems like a lot of the men that I've spoken to have shown sort of a hesitation around this concept of, like, if I was driving and I hit a dog and I was alone, I probably wouldn't want to deal with this. And a lot of women that I've spoken to have said the opposite. But one of the things that we play with this in this movie is sort of twisting this idea of doing the right thing. In this story, The Liars, my character Ethan is driving. He gets the dog. She is very much like, you gotta call the owner. You gotta tell him about this, and he does, and he sort of white lies and he hides the truth, and he's like, your dog was hit by a car. And she's like, you have to tell him, you have to tell him. They get into this big fight about it. It spirals. And we do a lot of like straw man attacks, and every time somebody makes a good point, the other dodges it. It's very much like it feels like you're a fly on the wall listening to this argument. And in the end, we twist it where, like, technically she does the right thing, but for the wrong reasons and in the wrong way. And none of it makes a difference. At the end of the day, a dog is dead and a stranger is sad. And no amount of sort of competing for the higher ground is going to change that. Sometimes when an awful thing happens, it's just awful, no matter how you handle it. So, but that is an interesting question. I'm
Yeah,
curious as we take this out on uh, the festival circuit if there's
yeah.
more
To
more
get
feedback on that.
get audience feedback and stuff and see. It's interesting. I'd be kind of curious about that. I'm not a social scientist, but and I know
I'm
all
gonna I'll
about
do
that.
I'll do a poll.
Yeah, do a poll. I'm kind of curious. Somehow I don't know. Well, anyway, moving on because
Yeah,
time is we could. By the way, we could BS here for a long time.
I could talk for hours about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you co-wrote the script. Where did the initial spark come from? When you're doing this, and
yeah,
how did the real idea evolve from the first
yeah.
draft to the final? You kind of touched on some of this.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, me and Parker were looking for basically our Venn diagram where we overlapped on taste and interest in various projects. And Parker told the story, and I couldn't get it out of my brain, and we kept workshopping it. Now we told it very much from the perspective of how it actually happened to Parker, and we were like, there's still something's it's interesting, but it's very reminiscent of things that we've seen before. And so we started playing with doing it in the style of different creators that we looked up to. We did a draft that was similar to one director. We did draft that was similar to another director, and what we ended up going with is this style. We're very inspired by Scandinavian films. We love the works of Ruben Östlund, who did Force Majeure and Triangle of Sadness. They sort of have this approach to comedy and drama where it's very all comedy is played super real, and all of the stakes are very high. In Force Majeure, which is a movie about a man who runs away from his family during an avalanche and then
Wow.
proceeds to spend the next 2 hours trying to convince them that that's not how it actually happened, because it's so much more difficult for him to face the reality of he's a coward. And we were like, is there a version of this story where we don't play the sincerity of helping a stranger, or a beautiful intimate moment shared between two people who will never see each other again, but something where a man is forced to face basically the crumbling facade of this of the idea that he can do the right thing. And we took that and we ran with it, and we were like, oh yeah, there's something for us to bite into here. And that's the finished project. It's very much inspired by Scandinavian films, and it is definitely a comedy, but it is dry and it's dark. It's not sort of slapstick or over the top in any kind of way.
So it's a real dramedy.
It is a dramedy.
Yeah.
There were times where we were filming it and shooting it and writing it where we were um trying to figure out which it was. And it wasn't really until the editing process that we were able to really hone in on the exact tone that we wanted. But we made sure that when we were filming it and writing it, that everything was played realistically, that these moments matter to these characters, and that this is a big moment in their life. It's not None of this is funny to them.
Here's what's really fascinating for me sociologically. The film explores a moment that reveals who somebody really is,
Yeah.
and that's powerful stuff. Uh, you're a young guy, and
Yeah.
actually, when you tell me this is your 22nd year in the business, I'm saying I'm starting to count on my fingers. Wait a second, how could that be?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
giving
I
it up.
started acting when I was 5 years old.
Yeah. So why are
So
you
yeah.
interested, Nolan? Why are you interested in this kind of a moral pressure test? You're a young guy.
Yeah. I think it's actually a great question. I'm sure my therapist would have a ton that he could would love to explain to you and tell you about why I'm interested in that kind of story. I think that being a child actor, you're sort of constantly adapting your personality to fit into environments. Right? It's like you're 8 years old, you're on a set surrounded by 100 strangers, and you have to figure out how to. For me, identity has always been sort of a little, I think, more constructed than it has for various people who just, they're kids, they're running around school, they make their decisions based on sort of an authentic point of view and personality. Whereas for me, it was always a little constructed. And so, in that way, I've always been fascinated by why people are the way they are and choose to be the way they are and tell themselves they are the way they are when in reality they aren't. I love looking at basically the facades that people build up and how they present themselves in the world. It's oftentimes, right, like you'll see the dichotomy of the most confident people, or people who tell you they're the most confident are actually deeply insecure. People that tell the world they're doing just fine and they're happy and doing well in life often aren't. And so I just am fascinated by that. And, I think we explore some of that here, and I'm interested in exploring it in my other works as well.
Okay. So how did collaborating with Parker shape the tone and structure of the script? Because
Yeah.
I'm starting to get into Parker and reading about him and the things
Yeah.
that a very unusual indie film director and some of the
Sure.
things, how did that
Yeah.
how did that work?
Well, Parker is a fantastic director. I highly recommend everyone, as I say, go watch his Easiest Closing Your Eyes and some of his other work that's out there. Parker knows how to get things done. And I was looking to start off my career in this world, and we were interested in collaborating together. I think that in many ways, there's a lot of pieces of his personality and my personality that complement each other and can kind of. I think it's why you see a lot of great writing partnerships. It's often very difficult to stand alone on a project and have a very singular vision. A lot of times, it's great to build off of each other, and Parker's understanding specifically as director, because he directed it, we produced it together, we wrote it together. Um, Helps you to understand, like, okay, we can't take this to crazy town. This is a very independent, very low budget short film. There's only here are the limitations. Here's how this is going to look. Here's how we can get away with showing this and not this. So Parker's understanding of just directing and filmmaking as a whole really allowed us to get this project done. It wouldn't have, if it's just me and it's, one of my first times writing, I might take it to a place that's like, now we're looking at a $500,000 short film and we have no clue how to get this done. One of our big ethos is don't show people what you can't do. And I think Liars is only a 12 and a half minute short film, shot all on location without lights, in moving vehicles, and so it's a very difficult project to get done, but also it's very narrow in its scope, and I believe hits its target.
By the way, did you see what I just did? I'm one of the few interviewers in America who takes notes.
I did. I was clocky taking a
You,
note.
you,
Yeah,
you clock me doing that?
I did.
By the
Yeah.
way, don't show people what you can't do. Brilliant. By the way, that is
It's
brilliant.
simple. It's a simple
So
ethos. Yeah.
brilliant. Uh, I had to write that down, which means I'm going to use it. I'll give you credit, but
It's yours. It's yours.
it's so the performances, from what I gather, are rather restrained. Um,
Yes.
and what did you guys talk about? Giving directions to the actors about
Yeah.
holding back. I mean, that must be a tough thing, holding back rather than pushing emotion. I mean, that's a tough thing to put
Yeah.
together.
Well, it is a tough thing to do. So one of the benefits of so I play Ethan, who is the guy behind the wheel, alongside my co-star Billy Gibbons and Bill Weldon, who plays the owner of the dog. I was lucky in the fact that I know because I wrote it, I understand why lions are the way they are and why they aren't. So going into it had a good understanding of sort of the tone of it, but obviously it changes the second you start working with a scene partner and they have their ideas, you react differently to some people than other people. But yeah, I think, it was really Parker's direction on acting that helped us to sort of restrain sort of the desire to push emotion to indicate to people that like here's a joke, here's us being sad. A lot of times in life, we're constantly trying to hide how we really feel, right? Whether it's just a person you're talking to at a coffee shop or, the love of your life, you're always sort of trying to modulate and change to fit something that, maybe works better for what you're trying to portray. And that's why it's really exciting to watch somebody try not to cry on camera than it is to watch somebody try to cry. And so, and it also really helps with our, the title of our project is The Liars of Black Mountain Road. And so if
Uh-huh.
if there is an expression here, if it's somebody saying, "Oh, I feel really sad," it's because they're trying to make a point, they're trying to lie, they're trying to control the narrative as opposed to um I think sometimes we see in film it's like, hey, we want this to be a sad moment, so let's have soaring music and people crying and expressing how they really feel. Oftentimes in life we lie and we hide our emotions. And so uh we really focused on that, but again, I think it was, Parker behind the camera keeping an eye on this, and anytime it started to stray into like
Yeah.
that's a little much,
Get him back.
he would always ground us and remind us of like, hey, at the end of the day, here are two people that are in love and are trying desperately not to lose their relationship. Things were going great 30 minutes ago before we hit the dog, and now I can't unsee who you really are. And so remember what you're losing, what's at stake here. I think that always helped us really ground the performances.
The work of a director. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
truly. Now, I'm going to go off topic slightly. I'm going to pay you a huge compliment. And in all your travels about Lyre, I don't think you're going to hear this except from me.
Okay, sure.
So, and I'm not giving anything away at all. Visually, I know the last scene, and the last scene of Lyre reminds me of the last scene in The Graduate.
Okay. Yeah,
When Benjamin and Elaine are on the bus, she's in a
yeah,
wedding gown, and they're on the bus and they're just staring into
mhm,
space, and the bus
yeah,
is going nowhere. And I write about
yeah.
that all the time. But that's the
Oh, that's
emotion.
such. Yeah, that's honestly great. I'm gonna, I'll check in with Parker on the
Check on
side and
that.
ask him if that was any inspiration. I don't think this is. I'll talk about it for a second because I also don't think that this is spoiling anything. But we're sort of left on this cliffhanger at the end of our short where the two characters have just experienced all of this and they drive off into the distance and we're in the car with them and they sit in a long pregnant silence and we wonder as an audience, okay, is this over?
Yes.
Are they terrible for each other? Are they perfect for each other in some weird way? And we drive off and we're just left wondering, as I'm sure they are, like, how do we recover from this? And so, yeah, that's great. I'm gonna have to
Check that
rewatch The
out.
Graduate and
That's
see
what
if there's,
that's
but that is definitely the energy we were going for. So I'm
yeah,
glad that that
and
is obvious.
that's what I took out of it. That's what I took out of it, and I've seen The Graduate 100 times because that's that was my generation's voice coming
Yep.
out in that, and I actually write about. I've written about that last scene myself in a couple of my novels. I've written about that last scene, how powerful it is,
Yeah.
trans translating how powerful that last scene in Liar
Yeah.
is. it could take you hours to discuss that and think about
Sure.
that, and
Yeah.
that's the intent.
Well, it's also great. I always like when a movie holds a place for the audience to have their own opinions, to not dictate towards the audience everything they should feel, but to give, even in a short film, 30 seconds of driving in silence where the audience is allowed to know that their interpretation of it is important and that they are sort of an active participant in this experience.
Yeah. Now watch this. We're going to go to hell now.
Okay, great. Yeah.
We're going to
Okay,
go to
we're going to
hell,
hell.
and I
Yeah.
kind of
Oh, you got to print out for that
yeah,
too.
print out
Yeah.
of hell. We're going to talk about hell.
Yeah.
Another thing, as I saw that left me emotionally elevated
Yeah.
and charged.
Sure.
And even the visual of what I saw,
Yeah.
so hell is visually and tonally very different.
Yes.
So
Very.
what inspired you guys to explore this particular story through animation? And by the way, I interviewed some people last year, some kids who were going to film school in Georgia, and they had a project, and I never knew this until last year. Animation is monstrously difficult and time consuming.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So uh yeah, so we I mean, there's so much to talk about here. Hell is a stop motion animation. And so for anybody that doesn't know what it is, in the briefest sense, it's taking a photo of an object as it moves, little bit by little bit, millimeter by millimeter, and then playing it all in a sequence, and it forms a film. One of the easiest examples of this is sort of the style of animation of like Wallace and Gromit. That's claymation, and that's little pieces of clay moving around, forming a movie. This is stop motion animation using a silicon puppet. Um, and we made this project. It's like you said, it's so different than Liars, but we've forever been obsessed with this art form because of the amount of work that it takes. Um, sort of, and also it's art for its own sake. There's not a huge market for stop motion, but it doesn't take away from how incredible and powerful and the artistry that goes into it. And we wanted to be a part of it. We wanted to help inspire it and to push the medium forward and create opportunities for animators. We came along a some art by this artist Spike Milliken, who Parker was familiar with. And Spike had this story called Hell that was set in this sort of like 1930s dystopian Dust Bowl era America. And we became super interested in the writing and the art that went alongside it. And me and Parker got together and we were like, how can we make this thing? And stop motion was one of the first ideas that was thrown out. We met an amazing stop motion director who I wouldn't be surprised if she went to the same school as the one you're talking about in Georgia, the Savannah College of Art and Design. SCAD student.
Yep.
They have a great program there for
Yep.
animators. And we had met her at a film festival for one of Parker's other projects, and we ended up collaborating with her on this project. It's part of a whole world that we're building in the same basically town that Hell is set in. And yeah, it was a monumental undertaking. It cost us nearly everything. We almost all lost our minds moving stuff piece by piece. But we're also very excited for the end result of that. And that's premiering in Ireland at Animation Dingle, which is a big animation fest. And it'll be playing a lot of the same festivals as Liars. So it'll be at Garden State,
Okay.
as well as many others across America. So,
Okay. So the film feels allegorical. I love that word.
mhm.
I love that world, but it's grounded, just like
Yes,
Lars was grounded. So how do you balance symbolism with emotional clarity? Um,
that that is a That is a difficult question, and it is one that but it's also part of the fun of it, right? Like there's a very allegorical, almost fairy tale like world, with, rife with symbolism. For anybody that gets to see it, there's almost everything that is in every shot has a meaning, whether it's a kitchen lamp, whether it's the barn in the distance, whether it's a mountain. It's filled with symbolism, but we didn't want to go to sort of I guess like strange for strangeness sake, um trippy visuals and things to just be visually interesting. There's a through line of grief and loss, and sort of clinging on as the world around you falls apart. That is the emotion that we want to elicit when people watch Hell. And there's, Liars maybe has some very concrete takeaways where we want people to be like, do this if this happens, A leads to B. Hell is sort of an experience and sort of like a meditation on loss. And so the grounded elements come from not the sort of insane world that we've built, this sort of Dust Bowl era alternate America, but from really the emotions of the main character as he deals with the loss of his wife.
Hmm. Um, so again, you kind of touched on it. What does hell actually mean in the context of the story? Is it a place? Is it
Yeah.
like a mindset? Is it like a system or something?
Yeah, again, great question. I think that I've always been very interested in the title of this film. I did not come up with the title of this film. This is something that Spike and Parker came up with. Hell is, I think, it's a prison of your own making. I think, this main character, John, who he wanders the property looking for his wife, who's passed away. I think, he's in a hell of his own. I think hell is also, as like I said, that we're sort of this world that we've built is caught in this sort of basically continuous Great Depression. Um, Dust Bowl, like the land is dying, the farms are closing, the government's foreclosing everything, the machines that held so much promise of changing things are slowly crushing the people around them. So in many ways, like hell is both this fantastical fake place, and it's also deeply inspired by the feelings of that I think are sort of continuous when you look at society, whether it's you were in that time or now, people feel like they're living in hell and they're being simple, ordinary people get crushed by systems and they get crushed by the weight of their own lives. So I think that's a little of what that title means.
Okay. So compared to live action, and really good to dwell on this.
Yeah.
What does animation allow you to express uh, um, that makes it um, that makes it really harder to really
Yeah.
express?
Well,
I mean, that's a challenge.
one of the difficulties between the two is that you only get one take you get one chance basically at everything when you're doing stop motion. When you're filming, for example, Liars, and somebody messes up a line, you go back and do it. It was 2 minutes of digital footage, no big deal. In stop motion, you basically get one chance. Maybe if you're a bigger project, maybe you have a few, but really, you get to control everything. I think is a big difference. In stop motion, you get to control what the set looks like, how the camera moves, what the lighting is, how the exact, if you think of our puppets as actors, you get to control everything about the actors. So there's a ton of pressure because you're in charge of everything, and you only get to do it once. But the other thing is you get to control everything, so you only have to do it once. Um, so I think that's the big difference where it's with live action, there's sort of this living, breathing dialogue between the environment and the actors and the camera and the director and different people with different opinions. Whereas stop motion is this little world where everything is very controlled and precise and has to be.
Okay. I just want to go off topic. I love this question. I know your time. How are we doing on time? You tell me.
Yeah, I think let's go off topic for a second, and then I actually have to get back to writing
Fine.
me and
Fine.
Parker's next project
Fine.
because the
That's
grind
fine.
never
Because
stops.
if you don't control me, I'll keep you here for hours.
I don't blame you.
Very easily.
I've enjoyed talking to you, but yeah, let's go off topic for a second, and
All right.
then I gotta head
One
out.
quick off topic. Exclude, and I borrowed this from one of my idols, heroes, Barbara Walters.
Hmm.
So Nolan, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Living or dead that I'd like to spend a day with. Ah, gosh, it's a great question, and it's one that I've had an answer to in the past, but now it's kind of something that's slipping. The answers change throughout time, but I think lately I would love to spend time with somebody that does the art that I'm interested in. I think I'd love to spend time with maybe one of my favorite directors. I think I would say maybe Stanley Kubrick. I'd spend some time. I'd spend a day or sit down and watch some
Great
movies or
answer. Great
and just
answer.
ask questions and understand the mind of arguably a madman, but one
Correct.
who I really look up to.
Correct. I marvel at Stanley Kubrick, his
It's
stuff,
great work.
and what escapes tons of us today is when he did 2001.
Hmm.
It came out in the 60s. Arthur Clarke, wrote it, and I think every one of us forgets the fact that that was the first real example of AI. When
Oh,
Hal,
really?
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Hal is a computer and wants to take over the spaceship. So
Yeah.
mankind is fighting a computer,
Yeah.
and
Sort of
that
and
should have
here
alerted all of
here
us.
we are. Yeah, and
Correct,
yet here we are.
correct.
And it's what
So
makes it all
that's a
so
great answer.
timeless. Yeah.
Kubrick is a great answer. You know what?
Thank you.
I wouldn't mind kind of hanging out with
Spending
him.
some time either. Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched part. I just watched uh, Strangelove.
And my favorite film of his.
Oh,
Yeah.
I caught little bits and pieces the other night, and it was 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Anyway, hey, this was great, and there's a ton more stuff we can talk about.
Next
You
time.
guys ever want to come back and just kind of wrap?
Yeah.
Hey,
I'd love to.
about your work,
Calvin,
your art.
you're awesome. It was really
Oh,
great speaking to
well, thank you. Ditto, ditto. And
you.
and by the way, there's more than a half century that separates us in age.
Yeah.
Yet
But
we're on
I'm
the
glad
same
we
level.
can talk about that's one of the great powers of art
Yep,
and storytelling.
it is. And
So
what you're doing, to me, is one of the highest forms.
thank
Uh,
you.
no, to teach and inspire and motivate what you guys do, and that's why I love doing what I do, where I can get little pieces of you guys, because
Yeah,
it's such an amazing medium. And I only wish
I
you good
agree.
things, Nolan, and good
Uh,
luck. And
Thank you so much.
I'll copy you guys. This is going to
Yeah,
go next Friday. I'll promote and re-promote. I got some coming attractions posters. I'll take care of what I gotta. So
great.
only good things
Well,
to
we'll
you.
talk to you soon.
Yep. Be well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Calvin.
All
Take
right,
care.
Nolan. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.